Hey everyone, it's the Eclectic Handyman. Today we're going to look at a homeowners or weekend warriors guide to cutting PEX or PVC. Let's get into it. All right, let's level set here. The reason I emphasize homeowner or weekend warriors because pros are exempt for this. They have battery operated tools that are professional, making hundreds if not thousands of cuts. This doesn't really apply to them, but you're a homeowner, you've got a weekend job, you need to cut some PEX or PVC, and you don't really have the tools properly to do it, so you start digging through the toolbox. Maybe you stop at the hardware store and pick up a couple of things. I want to run through what works and what doesn't. All right, let's start with the first tool, which you probably grab in the toolbox, which is a traditional hacksaw. Now, the deal with a hacksaw when you're cutting PEX or PVC is it's extremely difficult to keep it straight. It's going to want to walk on you. Even if you try to score it first, some folks might say, well, I score it and then I follow the line. You're going to have a really rough and uneven cut. And the problem with rough and uneven cuts is that we're doing plumbing, so you probably have either a pressurized or some kind of water system that's going through this piping. And if you don't have perpendicular cuts, hence what we have here, so we can square up and check and see how our cuts are, you're going to end up probably getting leaks. And the cement for the PVC is not going to be enough to compensate for a bad cut. So I don't recommend a hacksaw. You can try in a bind, but you're probably going to end up pulling your hair out with really uneven cuts. All right, next up, what you might have done is run over to the hardware store or ordered one off of Amazon. This is a good brand, Klein Tools. This is a ratcheting PVC cutter. So I'll go ahead and take it out here. They're very, very sharp, so you want to be careful here. But the idea is that it makes light work of being able to cut PEX or PVC. But once again, there's a little bit of a nuance here that doesn't make this work super well. So let me get this PVC set up in a vise. Okay, so what I have here is Schedule 40 PVC. It's 3/4 inch. This ratcheting PVC cutter will actually do multiple size. It's universal. So once you open it up, it'll do from a small pipe all the way up to, I believe this one will do like 1.5 inches. Now, the way it works is that it's intended to go in this cradle right here. And one of the challenges is that there's nothing to secure it to be square in the cradle. So it's really susceptible to making crooked cuts, especially if you're trying to move quickly. And so the way it works is you begin to ratchet down onto the pipe. Now, you can try different types of strategy, like trying to score it first and follow the score, or mark it. But even though we mark it, the tool still does the job. And what ends up happening is that as you ratchet down, the blade will torque and end up making an imperfect cut. So as I get into it and see now right away, I can already tell that this one's going to be a little bit cattywampus off to the side. So I cut it through it. Now, one of the nice parts is that I've got a very clean cut right here, and it's much nicer than what you get from the hacksaw, which is really rough and you'll need a lot of TLC. But if I take my square here and see how we did with that cut, which is really what matters, we can see that it is quite a bit off right there. So you can see the gap right in there. Now, the problem with that is once you use the cement and such, and you're trying to put your pieces together, you won't have a flush fit and you could end up having leaks and such. You really do want a square cut. So you might say it's user error. You might be able to take more time and try to make a square cut, but I have found that inconsistently can I get good results from using this. It's just too freehand and there's no means to make a really nice square cut. So I am not a fan of these ratcheting style cutting tools. I mean, maybe if you're doing a rough job in the yard or something like that, or maybe it's not a pressurized system, you can get away with these, but I don't particularly like them. One PSA on them, as you can see here with this little tab, make sure you do close them when you're done because it's an extremely sharp blade. You don't want to reach down into the toolbox and cut your finger. You just want to make sure that you close it up and secure it. Let's move on to our last tool. All right, next up, this is a tubing pipe cutter. The way it works is that you put the pipe in the middle here, you rotate around over and over, making a deeper and deeper cut until you cut the pipe. You might dig in the toolbox and already have one of these. This is used commonly to make like brake lines and cut brake lines and things like that. You might associate it more with metal pipe, but it will work on PVC and PEX. The problem is that the cuts can make a little bit of a swelled lip. It's a little difficult to see, but if you come in right here, this is actually a bit of a swell. It kind of flares out from that cutting tool versus the clean cut of this tool. So we're having, we're trading off problems here. This one makes a clean cut, but it's not perpendicular. This one will make a straight flush perpendicular cut, but gives you a little bit of a flared edge. That flared edge can be a problematic because as you put it in to the different pieces that you're going to use, it may either be difficult or push all the cement back and be a problem. We'll take a look at that tool back there and how we're going to solve the problem. But first, let's go ahead and make a cut and see how it works. So this is the tool for the homeowner that I'm recommending for the cut itself. So we can expand this out and you can get these in all different sizes. And once I torque this down here, all right, I just lightly get it set up because the way it works is that it'll score and then cut and cut. You don't want to go too deep at first, but you see this roller right here? It will make a straight cut because it's getting pressure from both sides. So let's go ahead and then what we can do, I might just spin this around, make it a little bit easier, is then we can, I'll just tighten a little bit more, there we go. And now we can begin to make our cut. Now each time that it starts to cut, I'll just screw it maybe just 1/8 of a turn, continue rolling it, and then we'll continue going through. Again, tighten it a little bit more. And you'll do this several times until the pipe is cut. Almost there. And again, you don't want to dig too much because if you go too fast, it might end up making even worse of a flared end. And there we go. All right, so let's check this out. And we'll take this out. So we have a nice clean cut. We need to deburr it here. And what is deburring again? What that is to get out all the little extra pieces right here. And so we can use the tool that comes with this one, just like this. And you can just go along on the inside and kind of get that cleaned up. You can also use some sandpaper or you can use an actual deburring tool. These things are not expensive. It came with the chamfering tool over there. We'll look at that in a second. But you can go along the inside edge and clean it up. And that would get you ready. But again, as you can see, and you can see it right here, there's a flared lip on that. So before we clean that up, that edge up, let's make sure that we have a good clean cut right here. And you can see we do. We have a nice square perpendicular flush cut so that when we assemble our PVC or PEX together, it's going to go together nicely. All right, lastly, you may not find this at your local hardware store, and there are some more expensive versions of it, but this is a chamfering tool, and the way it works is that it essentially makes a small beveled edge along here. Now, this solves two problems. One, because we have a little bit of a raised lip from using the pipe cutter, but even if you made a flush cut or you're really handy with these, you can still use this tool. It's really helpful because what that beveled edge does, that small beveled edge, is that when you assemble your PVC together, the problem is that if you shove all the cement in, what ends up happening is you can be prone to leaks. And so that slight beveled edge allow the cement to stay where it is in place and create a secure bond. So you might want to try to skip this step. It depends on what tool you use. But these are pretty handy. They come universal so that whatever size pipe, maybe you're doing huge plumbing in the house, like 2-inch or something like that. Again, this is 3/4. Then there is an adjustment here as well. So it says from min to max. And I'll leave a link for this tool. I got it off of Amazon. So you can see right here, a minimum bevel versus a maximum bevel. And you can see the difference. Now for this type of pipe, all I need is a small bevel for that cut piece right here. And again, I know this is very small. You might have like a 5-foot in piece. It doesn't matter. This is just for demonstration purposes. So you just put it in here. And you know how I know that there's a lip on it that's made it wider? See how it doesn't fit in nicely? I have some other pieces here that will slide right in real nicely, and because they don't have that raised lip. So I know that that's going to impact assembly. So we've got the good cut. We just need to tear this down a little bit. And some might say, well, if you're pretty good with an X-Acto knife, or you might say, can I hit it with sandpaper? Sure, you can do that. Save yourself some money. You don't need to get a fancy tool like this if you're only doing one job. The thing is, with sandpaper or an X-Acto knife, it could be inconsistent. You might end up having leaks as well. So your mileage may vary. I just want to show you the different options. So we'll go ahead and stick this in here. And all you need to do is just turn it a few times. And this will, and you see it coming out the end. That's the debris right there. And then we'll make sure we're in good place. And now we can check it out. Absolutely beautiful. So it's a little difficult to see, but there's just a slight tapered edge. And again, we can go back with our deburring tool and just clean it up. Just a little bit right there. And now we have an excellent cut with a small bevel, and this is ready to prime and cement and dry assembly. Look at that, it goes straight in. Before, when there was a lip, it did not want to go in to that side easily. Now it went in nice and easy. We can prime it, cement it, quarter turn when we're done, and we should have an excellent leak-free installation. Again, you're a pro, none of this stuff applies. You've got professional tools, but for the homeowner digging around in the toolbox, you might have a pipe cutter, you might have a hacksaw, you might go to the store and get a ratcheting cutter. Again, it's a little rough. It's a clean cut, but your angles might be a little bit off. This may frustrate you. Let me know in the comments below which one you prefer. But I think for an average homeowner, you've got just a few dollar investment in this. These are usually under $10. If you want to get one of these because you might do more than one, these can run anywhere cheaply from $15 to $30. They are made out of metal, so they're pretty nice. These will set you back anywhere from about $10 to $40, depending on which brand you get. And of course, the hacksaw, you might have it for lots of projects, but this one, I think you're gonna have to give it the most TLC in the end. You're gonna have a rough cut. It could be at an angle. You might have all kinds of problems. So just keep these things in mind, because ultimately what you don't want to end up doing is this project over and over because you have a leak. Anyway, I hope all this was helpful. Tell me what you like to use to make straight cuts on PVC or PEX. Leave it in the comments below. If you like this, give it a thumbs up. And until next time, this is the Eclectic Handyman. We'll see you later.